my first national commercial in 2008, so 2 years after I moved. I had gotten an agent, so I was going out a lot and auditioning, and I was so tired of waiting tables. So when I moved out here, I got a bartending job, and I was still waiting tables like I was in New York, and I was so discouraged, and I really hated the lifestyle, and I almost gave up. I was like, I have to do something different. I have to change the way that I'm supporting myself before I book, or I have to maybe change my career journey and maybe do something different. And I booked my first national commercial God. Right at that moment in time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Talk about like a moment, right? Just a defining moment.
It changed everything
Wow.
for me. Everything for me at that moment.
Life gets tough, and I know it's hard to cope with the unknown. For all of us, I know it'd be easy if we were perfect, but we're not. So we go to find our fate, to find our hope. It all begins with looking up. It all begins with you. It's time to elevate.
Welcome back to Time to Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Ann Lucente, and if this is your first time tuning in, get ready because you're in for something special. Today, I get to share the mic with someone whose voice and presence have made a serious mark in the world of storytelling. Whether you've heard her in an audiobook, caught her in a commercial, or seen her on TV, chances are you've experienced her gift. She's a celebrated voice actor and actress who's been performing since she was just 4 years old. With a BA in theater and years of training on the black box stages in New York City, she eventually made the big leap to Los Angeles, where she's built a career that's as bold as it is inspiring. Now living in LA, she's recorded over 350 audiobook titles. Yes, you heard that right, 350, and received 2 Earphones Awards from AudioFile magazine, plus a nomination from the Society of Voice Arts and Science for nonfiction. Her voice has this way of pulling you in, and honestly, once she starts speaking, you're hooked completely. And here's where the episode gets a little personal, because this incredible woman is not just my guest today. She's my very talented, beautiful cousin. Now, I won't reveal my age, but I will say I used to babysit her back in the day. I had a front row seat to her becoming the force she is today. What people don't always see behind the scenes is the hustle, the nonstop auditions, the leap of faith when she moved from New York to LA, and the way she never gave up, even when the path wasn't clear. Her story is all about resilience, reinvention, and trusting the process. A little fun fact, she's an essayist, a proud mom to a delightful little lady, and to a lovable yellow lab named Freddie. When she's not working, you'll catch her practicing her biking skills, learning Reiki, or, to no surprise here, reading. So whether you're chasing your own dream, standing at a crossroads, or just need a little reminder that your path is unfolding exactly as it should, this one's for you. So let's get into it with the multi-talented, deeply inspiring, and absolutely radiant Allyson Ryan.
Hi.
Hello.
What a sweet and lovely intro that was. Thank you.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have you here, my beautiful cousin and my very talented, beautiful cousin.
Oh, well, I'm so happy to be here. I feel so honored to be on your podcast, which is so inspiring and lovely. And it's just nice to get to spend some time with you.
It is because you're so far away. Well, not that far. We can get there, but still, I know. But this is nice that we could do this, and I'm so excited. And I love to start off by saying like how we met, but that was easy because you were born, and that's how we
exactly. Can't do better than that. You were born.
That was it. But I love it, and I love that. It's so funny that podcast. You would think that doing podcasts with friends and family members, that it's easy, right? But it's not. It's actually more difficult. Because I want to do you justice, so I have to pretend like we're not related, and I have to look stuff up about you and things like that. And I know a lot.
It's a whole new way in, isn't it? Like a whole new way to get to know somebody.
It is. It is.
Different angles.
It definitely is. But I did get to see firsthand when you just even first started, because you used to, I remember you sing, giving away secrets. We could always cut this out. No.
It's fine. It's all good.
I
Everyone should know
remember
this.
when we lived in Mount Vernon, right, you would sing, you'd have a cape of some sort on, and you'd use, like, the broomstick, and you'd be
Yeah.
singing around, and we were, like, all clapping and very excited for you and everything. That was just so great. So
I
great.
know, I know. It was in me from birth. It
Yeah,
really
it
was to
it really
perform.
was. It really
Yeah,
was. So
yeah, yeah.
let's say where your story began, which was in the Bronx, correct? Like, right down the street from where I
Yeah,
lived.
yeah. That's right, that's right. Just a few blocks down south of you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I used to ride my bike down to see your mom down there and stuff, and yeah,
Mhm.
and then I got to
Yeah.
babysit you, which was great. I
Yep.
um, I love that. So tell me about, like, what gave you the bug, like, to get into, your first play, right? Correct? At
Mm.
4 years old? Was it Macbeth? Was that the one?
Yeah, right, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So, yeah, like, right out of the gate, my parents put me in the Milestone School in Fleetwood. And it was this sort of non-traditional, like, I think it was Montessori school, and there was a big push for the arts and English, and Miss Freeman, who was the administrator, she just like really loved theater, and so she brought that into the classroom, and then we did a musical every year. So we did, but the first one we did was Macbeth, which is not a musical, but we
Right.
graduated to like Peter Pan and The King and I and Annie and all those. But yeah, but Macbeth,
Yeah,
I was a witch
I
stirring
love
the
it.
cauldron and doing the speech, which is now like ingrained into my DNA. Like I know that speech backwards and forwards because I memorized it when I was 4. So yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
And before we get further in this, I'm gonna go back just a step and just say, first of all, your parents are the most supportive parents for,
yeah.
like, for theater, for anything in the arts and all that. And I know, they've been supportive of me just doing everything. So it's wonderful to have that, because when you don't have that, it's so much harder to get
Oh
going or
yeah.
to get involved. And especially back then when there wasn't that much. It's not like now there's so much available to reach out to. But back
Hmm.
then I feel like you really didn't have that. But
No, not at all.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It's like, so thankfully it was that. I wanna know first about you, like, where you're living now. You have a beautiful family, I'll let
Yeah.
you tell.
So I moved out here in 2006. I moved out.
Mhm.
And then I lived in various neighborhoods all over Los Angeles. Currently I live in like kind of like dead center LA. And yeah, it's a really great. We live in like a really nice community, and we have a great neighborhood. And I live here with my daughter Charlie and my husband Matt and our dog Freddie, like I said. Yeah, and it's really great. I mean, I came out here when I was 16 years old because one of my friends had an aunt who lived out here. So we came out, and my dream was always to ride down the escalator at LAX and see the "Welcome to Los Angeles"
Oh,
sign,
I
right? That was
love
like,
it.
I had seen that in TV, movies, and so my friend actually, isn't this amazing? We were supposed to fly into Burbank, okay, which was the better airport closer to her aunt, but she switched our flight so that we could fly into LAX so I could have that moment at 16.
Oh my goodness.
That's a good friend. That's a
That's
really good friend.
that's a very good friend. That's a
Yeah, very good friend.
Oh my
But
gosh.
when I came out, I always had this dream to come here and, do TV and film. And then it took me a long time to finally get back out here as an actor. Like coming out
Right.
here, meeting people, seeing what it would be like to live here and to pursue a career here. And that
Mhm.
happened when I was about 28. And
Okay.
then and even from that trip, it took me 2 more years, and I finally moved out here when I was 30. 8
Okay.
days 8 days before my 30th birthday, I moved
Wow,
here.
that's a big move. That's a big move from
Yeah,
New York to here to LA. Yeah,
yeah,
or the other way around, whatever, that's a big move to do it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
is this story true, or is this just, something I know I heard? What, like, you and your husband, Matt, right?
Mhm,
You were friends for a long time, right? In
mhm.
New York. Did he help you? Did he give you a little push to go to LA? Is that true? Did he help you to, like, book that ticket or something? Or is that just a story I heard and it was
Yeah. Nope, he was instrumental in helping me. Well, I kind of, I would say I worked at a restaurant with him,
Mhm.
and I was always talking about moving here, and I had 2 roommates, 2 very close friends of mine who are still my friends today. once I decided I was going to move out here, I was like, oh, let's all go together. We'll be easy. They wanted to move to LA too, but they
Right.
were taking their time.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was taking my time. And finally Matt was like, you got to just book this one-way ticket, just do it. And so I was at his house and he made me sit down in front of the computer and I booked the ticket and I immediately burst into tears.
Oh my gosh.
I was
Oh
like, oh
my
my God.
gosh.
And then I was like, what did
Oh
I
my
do? I'm going to
gosh.
spend my 30th birthday in LA with like no friends. What am I doing? Like, why am I moving at this crucial time? And this big milestone, and who's going to be celebrating with me? And
Oh my gosh.
but it turns out he came out here to work on a project and he was here. We were not dating at the time. We were
Oh.
just friends. And he came out here and he spent my 30th birthday with me. We had dinner.
Oh.
So yeah, it was
Oh,
very
that's
sweet.
so awesome. That is really awesome. And I
Yeah.
remember, I don't know the year that I visited you. I don't know how long you were there. Maybe a year
Oh
you
yeah,
were
not too
there? Remember?
long. Yeah.
And that was a cool visit and seeing, and I still remember, and I know I've said it to you before, I still remember you saying, like, I'm just gonna give it like, I don't know what you said, maybe till the end of the year or another year or whatever. And then that's it. I'm gonna just go back. And I was like, "Don't go back, don't go back." But you did it. I mean, this is all you. Like you stayed and you stuck it out and you did different things and now you love it there. And
Yeah.
look how far. And I know that Matt, when he came out too, did he always want, or we'll give him a little shout out. He's a writer, right? Did you just tell us about
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
I'll
a
give him a little
sweetie.
shout out. It's about you today, Allison, but Matt, you're getting a little shout out.
He gets a little shout out too. Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
came out too kind of on the same didn't have anything
Yeah.
waiting for him per se, or
Not really. He had been doing a lot of editing and producing people's like music videos and short films and actor demo reels.
Oh, okay.
And he was always helping people out with their projects. He was always giving people notes, and he had this idea that he would, maybe it'd be a great idea if I pursue writing. So he was always
Okay.
interested in moving out here to pursue a career, but he didn't move out. I mean, we say like he didn't move out here for me at the time. It made sense that he was just going to move here to pursue a career in television.
Mhm.
And
Right.
that's what he did. It took him a couple years, but he sold the very first pilot he ever wrote. He
Mhm.
sold,
Oh my
and
gosh.
that is unheard of. And it went straight to series, which is another thing that is unheard of in this business. Usually, if you
Yeah.
sell your pilot, you may get to write that pilot, and then a studio will decide if they should produce the entire series. But for him, it just went straight to series, and
Wow. And
that
can you
sort of
share the
launched his
name
career.
or can you share what it was?
He would
Or no?
not like me to share the name
Okay,
because
we
he
won't
did
share.
not turn. No, it was called South of Hell. It
Oh,
was
okay.
not. It was not a great. Didn't turn out great,
Was
but not because of Matt. But it launched the relationships he made through that. That really launched his career, and he just won an Emmy last year for Shogun as a writer producer.
Yes! Oh my gosh, so
Yeah,
exciting, so exciting. That is
yeah,
wonderful. And
yeah,
it's so great because of you, like, the 2 of you together, I can imagine, and I'm making it sound so simple, like, the 2 of you together, you're just all these successes, and yes, you have many successes, but there's a lot of hard work, and I love that I was able to, like, see it from a distance, but and I know that and I don't know as much about Matt's, journey, but I do know that you didn't just walk into it. Like, sometimes people are like, "This is so easy for you, and look at you, you've got 350 audiobooks, and he's got an Emmy," but it's hard work, and it's really you're going through all the ups and downs of things that people
yeah.
just don't see, and you guys, I'm so proud of both of you, really, I think it's so amazing, it really is.
Oh, thank
Really
you,
is.
thank you. Yeah.
So let's walk through your journey a little bit, just starting at your young age. Just kind of bring me through like your New York scene because I remember seeing you in a couple of. Were you on off Broadway? Off Broadway?
Off Broadway.
I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
coming to see those were the black box stages, right? And they were excellent.
yeah.
So what was your New York scene happening and what made you say like I do need to go to LA rather than stay in New York for what
Mm.
you wanted to do? Because you were more on screen focused and stage focused here, and did voiceover come in here as well in New York?
Yeah. Yeah, I did a little bit of on-camera work in New York, but it was mostly theater. So
Mhm.
where I went to college, I went to school in upstate New York, and I got a big like the program was more like theater history, script analysis. I got to produce a few shows and direct. So that was really great, but in terms of a practical skill set to audition and book work in the industry, whether that be theater or TV film. There wasn't too much of an emphasis on that in my BA studies. So when I graduated college, I went like straight into, I went to a place called Weast Baron, and I
Okay.
learned how to be on camera and what that was like, and learned how to frame myself, and learned more how to act on camera than in theater. And I did like a soap opera and film showcase,
Yeah.
tried to get an agent. I did get an agent. I got a couple things, very, very small things. And then all the while I then ended up going to another studio that had classes and that also did shows. So I started to do plays there and kind of hone my skills on the stage at the same time as honing my skills on camera. And then I got a little theater company together with a few friends, and we produced our own work. So we did our own one acts, we wrote original material, or we bought the rights to one act plays, and we rented studios all over New York.
Oh,
And we
wow.
did that. It was called Brain Bomb.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I
it was really
love
fun.
it.
It was great. It was a great group of friends. So I did that. But it was becoming clear that if I really wanted to make money at this, I was
Mhm.
going to have to do something different. I was going to have to
Okay.
move to LA. I just couldn't see the path forward in New York City to book enough theatrical work that I was going to be able to support myself eventually.
Okay.
And of course, that was the goal, was to be, a full-time actor. So,
Right. Right.
so, so yeah. So
I
what I ended up doing, I did a course where New York actors came to LA and met with casting directors, and LA actors who wanted to move to New York met with New York casting directors. And we did like this sort of switch.
Oh.
And there I got really inspired to move to LA once I met with casting directors who said, "Yeah, you're very castable. Yeah, I could definitely see
Right.
you like booking commercials. I could see you on TV." And that gave
Wow.
me the confidence to move.
That's very good. So you're not really going there blindly per se. You're getting some feedback, and that's really important. That's great. Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
could never make the move away from my family and away from everything that I knew blindly like that. Like, I had
Right.
to know that I was positioned well
Yeah.
to potentially book work.
Right.
I couldn't just give everything up. I was like I said, I dragged my heels for so long because I was like,
Yeah.
how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna move away from my parents and my
I
family and my
know.
friends? And
I know.
I was homesick for like a year and a half. It took me a really long time to adjust. So
Oh
I
my
had to know that
gosh.
it was gonna be worthwhile.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so great. And so
Yeah.
now when you went to, LA, so I know you got some great commercials that stand out in my head. Were those in New York or were those when you went?
So that was all here. Yeah. That was all here. Yeah. I booked my first national commercial in 2008, so 2 years after I moved. I had gotten a agent, so I was going out a lot and auditioning, and I was so tired of waiting tables. So when I moved out here, I got a bartending job, and I was still waiting tables like I was in New York, and
Right.
I was so discouraged, and I really hated the lifestyle, and I almost gave up. I was like, I have to do something different. I have to change the way that I'm supporting myself before I book, or I have to maybe change my career journey and maybe do something different. And I booked
Mhm.
my first national commercial
Oh my
like
god.
right at that moment in time.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Talk
Yeah.
about, like, a moment, right? Just a defining
I mean,
moment.
it changed
Wow.
everything for me at that moment. So, yeah,
Oh
so I
my
booked all those
gosh.
commercials, out here, not New York. Yeah.
That's wild. That's really wild. I know, and I love when that happens. It's like because you were giving it your all. It's not like you were just sitting back relaxing. So you were giving it your all, and then you're like, I gotta do something. And it's just sometimes it's just that slight shift. Even your brain, slight shift. A slight shift will change everything. And so that like whatever energy goes out, that's what ends up happening. It's
Yeah.
wild. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I know.
unbelievable.
I know, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So now voice acting and then audiobooks, did that start in LA? I keep saying here and there. Is that start with you in LA? Did you do any voiceover here in New York or it came up while you were in there?
No, I made a voiceover demo before I moved because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have all my ducks in a row. So
Yeah.
I got like headshots and made sure I had, an acting reel and then a voiceover reel. So I moved out with that. That's a
Mm-hmm.
funny story. So like I said, I was waiting tables. I was also working for a catering company when I moved out here. So I ended
Mm-hmm.
up working at the holiday party for Penguin Random House.
Oh,
And
wow.
the party took place at their studios. So I got to see like this giant room with all these hard copy audiobooks everywhere. And I was like, what do you all do here? I had no idea. I showed up at this party. I'm waiting, I'm passing hors d'oeuvres and I see all these studios and I'm like, what goes on in here? Because I knew it wasn't like commercial voiceover. And so I met Dan Musselman, who was the head of the audiobook division for Random House in LA at the time. He retired 3 years ago. And he was like, "Oh, we do something called long form voiceover." I was like, "What long form voiceover and audiobooks?" And I had no idea. And so he told me, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." And how do you get into that? He's like, "Oh, you send us a demo, and if we like your sound of your voice, we'll call you in to read a few pages of a book. And if we like it, we go from there." I said, "Okay, great." So I sent him this voiceover reel, and that's what happened. He called me in, and I read 4 pages of a heartbreaking work of staggering genius by Dave Edgars, which was my favorite book at the time.
Really?
And then a month after that, I did my first audiobook and I haven't stopped
Oh
since.
my gosh. That is
Yeah.
a wild story. So with the demo you sent him was like a commercial demo? Because you at that point you didn't have an audiobook demo. And he just wanted to
No,
hear the quality of your voice.
yeah. But
Wow.
but the funny thing about that demo was that I had my friend Bernie, who was a bartender at the Cedar Tavern. He was a musician. He produced that and he
Oh.
he did all the music behind my voiceover. But the music was so loud, it almost
Oh,
overpowered. It was not he it was like that's what he shined at. He didn't make voiceover demos. He's like, "I'll do you a
right.
favor. Come in. We'll read some copy. I'll put some music behind it." So it
Right.
was terrible, terrible.
I love it.
People gave me feedback. They were like, "The music needs to come down and you need to come up on that." It was terrible. So the fact that like Dan heard something in there and he really liked it. I think he
Oh my
liked
god.
me and we got
Yes.
along really well. And yeah, yeah.
I love
I
that.
thank God that he saw something in there.
Yes. See, it is all about relationships because he met you. Like, if you had just randomly sent that in, he'd be like, "Oh my god,
If I had just
what?"
sent that in blind, I would
Yes.
never ever been called in for an audition. Never,
Yes.
never,
Yes,
never.
I know. And, people always say and I ask you this later, I have a question for you about audiobooks because, people always say that it's not the easiest of the genres, if you ask me, because there's a lot involved. So, could you walk us briefly through from the point where you get a book,
Mhm.
what's your process through recording, just to understand what's involved?
So once I get a book, I read the whole book, and depending on what the genre is. So if it's fiction, I will read through the book and I'll make any notes of all the characters and any sort of clues as to how they should sound from the author, any
Mhm.
accents, things like that. And then once I'm done reading the book, and I also once as I'm reading, I also find words that I have a question about pronunciation that could be something that I could easily look up on, the dictionary or anything online to the author needs to specifically answer this question for this pronunciation, like it's character name or a place, fictitious place. And after I'm done with prepping it, I get in the studio and, I take any notes that have been given from the producer and try to also incorporate them into my performance. And then it depends on how long. So if I'm recording here in my studio, I'm recording
Mhm.
most of the time myself. So it takes a little bit longer because I'm actually doing all of the stopping and starting and editing as I go along.
Right.
So, and in that space, I'll just give myself like a week and a half to work on like a 300-page book. And I try to just get into the moment and focus as best I can, which is really challenging in this day and age, to
Right.
just really sink into the story and get these words out with minimal mistakes. And
Wow.
yeah, but it's challenging. And then if it's nonfiction, that's more like pronunciation heavy, more research heavy. And that's just really about prepping so that you're really understanding the material so that you sound
Mm,
like the authority. Like you are hired to sound like the author, right?
right.
You are you are now embodying the book. You are the character of the author.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that you understand what the material is as best you can,
Right.
depending on what it is. But
Do you ever meet with the authors or even like a Zoom with the actual when you're doing, let's say, their memoir or their whatever? Do you meet with them?
sometimes, yeah, I
Mhm.
have. Yeah, sometimes it's more. It's funny. My experiences have been less about this is how I want the book to be. It's more like this is so exciting for me as an author. I want to meet my audiobook narrator.
Oh,
So
yes. Yeah,
it's more like they're
yeah.
just like, oh yeah, I just wanted to have this conversation and talk about the book and make sure, we're
Yes.
on the same page about it. And also this is so great. And I just want to meet you.
That's so
It's been a
great.
lot of those kinds of experiences. But sometimes it's more through email where the author will communicate through the producer. So the
Mhm.
producer and the publisher will say, like, the author would really like, this kind of a tone, or, these are the character traits that she really wants to, have shine through in the book. So they'll give me more
Right.
performance notes than maybe the author will. They're like the go
Right.
between.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so great. I'm amazed though when you say you're like in a week and you'll be done recording part. I'm like, really? Because it would take me that long to read the book. I'm a slow reader, so I would have a trouble with the whole thing. And the fact that, you do all of that. And then once now I know editing, a lot of people give it out for other people to edit, 'cause editing, I think, is a bear. Like, when I even think about it, I've never done audiobooks. I've only been part of, like, a children's book, and I was a part of it. Like, I didn't have to edit. And the
Right.
days before COVID probably, right, were, audiobooks. Did you go into the studio
I
and re have
did.
you done
Yeah.
that? Okay, that's
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
easier in one way probably, but maybe sometimes nice to be home in your own booth too? I mean, which is your preference if you had to choose?
I love the convenience of being at home, but I will say that before COVID, it used to be a good balance between going to a studio and recording and then being here. So it kind of was like not, it was fun to be able to go into the studio because you see people, you have a little bit more of more social time than if you're by yourself. But after COVID, everything became here, and we did everything on Zoom. So if you did work with a director, you did have them. But Zoom is not. We don't use any video. We do just everything is audio. So you just have them in your headphones and you're recording, but you're not interacting like this with video. So I prefer to be in studio because I'm away from my house, which can be distracting. Just like being at home, just being at home and having your work in your personal space is sometimes challenging for focus. But I would prefer to be in studio just because I like the idea of somebody handling everything else, just so that I could purely focus on the narration and I don't have to worry about anything technically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, and I agree. Even though I don't do audiobooks, so mine's short form, like, e-learning, commercial, that it would be nice to have somebody just be the tech person, especially if you're in a session for something. It's great when they're like, "We just need you to run a backup." I'm like, "Thank you, Lord." Because I don't wanna I mean, I'll do it and I'm recording, but I don't have to worry about much of anything because it gets stressful, when you're doing it and you're like, "Dear God." But,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
But with
that's cool.
the funny thing, so when I go into the studio, they just hit record. That's it.
Mhm.
There's no stopping. You stop when you
Okay.
make a mistake, but you go
Okay.
back. Like if you mess up on a line, you just like go back to like the period or the comma, wherever the natural break where you've taken
Okay.
a quick pause. But here, when that happens, I literally stop recording, go back to that point,
Okay.
pre-roll, hear my take, and
Yes.
go back in. So that those couple seconds really break the rhythm.
Exactly.
So you have to
Exactly.
get really good at keeping, especially like when you're restarting that line, to have the same energy, to not be louder or
Yes.
breathe weird or have it to be like that it feels or it sounds seamless. And that's
Right.
challenging. That takes a lot of practice. I don't think that comes naturally right away.
Yeah.
A couple books and then you're like, oh, okay, I get this.
Yeah. That does
Yeah.
take a lot of practice, and that's the way they call it punch and roll, right? Because is that what
Punch
they
and
call it?
roll.
Punch and
Yeah,
roll?
punch and
Because, I
roll.
mean,
Yeah.
I've tried it, not because I have to, but I've tried it because I know people that, like, they'll be like, for auditions and stuff, it's like, "I just punch and roll along," and I'm like, "That is the most difficult thing," even, so I can only imagine it takes you out for a second, so it takes a
Yeah.
lot of practice for that. But that's
Yeah.
great when you can just, like, run through and then, like you said, correct yourself, just stop for a second and then, correct
Mhm.
yourself, like I did with your
Yeah.
intro today.
Right. Right, give
Right, just
yourself a little moment and then
that's all,
keep
just go
going.
back into it, that's all.
Yeah.
So, like we mentioned, you've done, I can't believe 350 titles, I am, like, blown away. Do you remember, or you probably do, your first book? Do you know what the first book was? Did you tell me that?
I do remember
Okay.
my first book. Yeah, this is so funny. So I was just on a podcast where I said that my first book was actually my second book. So hopefully
Oh.
people don't think I'm a liar, but I'm not. But was my first book. So I did a book. Actually, I have this up on my
Is it
wall.
up there?
I have a review from AudioFile magazine for this book called Short Change. It was by Patricia Smiley. It was a
Oh,
mystery thriller, and
yeah.
it had 30 characters in it.
Holy oh
It
my
had 30 characters in it,
god!
and I remember getting that book and being like, "Oh my, how do I do this? How do
As
I
your
come up with
first
all these different voices for, like, 30 different characters?"
Wow.
I worked with Janet Stark. She was one of the uh, producer directors at Random House at the time, and she directed me through that book. And then I came in for another book, and she had clipped this review out of AudioFile magazine, which was a very positive review, and she left it on my music stand just to say, like,
Oh.
"Hey, you did a great job, and, like, this is for you. Audiobooks, this is a good thing for you."
Oh
And,
my god.
yeah, so that was really cool. So, yeah, I remember
Wow.
being really scared. And then my second book was a YA book called The Garden
Oh,
of Eve.
okay. Oh, I think, did I listen to that? I think I
Oh,
did
maybe you
listen to
listened.
that one too. I
Yes.
think that might have been one of my first ones that I did, obviously, because it's one of your that I listened of yours. It was really great. I remember this, so crazy how I remember this. I was painting rooms in the house listening to you, and I was so thankful to hear your voice. And that's when I was amazed. And if I'm right, I believe I'm right. They had characters as well, not
Oh, yeah.
30, but they had
Yeah, not 30,
I
but
no,
yeah.
not 30, but they did. I was so amazed at how you did, there was like, I'm gonna say a teenage boy in that one, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was my first time of going, "Wow, I forgot it was you." Like, I completely didn't even remember I was listening to you because
Oh,
you
wow.
really, it's the cadence of you do it, because I know, like, not having done audiobooks, or people that don't do them maybe as often, or whatever, they they tend to over exaggerate when they're
Mm.
trying to pretend to be either a boy or a man if you're a woman, or either or, and then sometimes it comes off as not being real, but you were so real, yet it was a slight difference in your voice. I was amazed. I was blown away. So thank you.
Thank
I
you.
got to paint some rooms in the house, and I was very entertained. That was very
Thank
good. I
you. I'm
love it.
glad you
I love
listened to
it.
that. Yeah, I really loved that book. Yeah, there was a little boy named Alex in that book. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that vivid. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to listen again just for the sake of listening, because I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it too. It was really great.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
I
gosh.
loved I loved doing all those little, like, children's, and YA books. It was called Listening Library is the imprint. It was an imprint of
Okay.
Random House, which I think it's still there still is. I don't do those books as much anymore because my voice is not really conducive to YA anymore. I don't think
Oh.
anyone would believe me that I would be a 12-year-old girl. So, yeah,
I bet you could do it. I bet you could still pull it off. It might be a little exhausting though to try
a
to
little
do it,
exhausted. Keep going up so high. Yeah,
to
I
keep
could do it,
going.
but yeah, maybe not
You
for
could
an
do it.
entire book.
I think you could do it. Now, I'm sure you have many, many favorites. Is there one that you could just say that stands out, or one of the many that might be in your top thing of a book that might stand out for you?
Oof, yeah, I have a few actually. Well, one is I recorded Fleischman is in Trouble, which is by Taffy Brodesser Ackner. That was a brilliant book, which got turned into a brilliant series. That was nominated for Emmys, and yeah, that book was really really great. That book in particular was really interesting because the narrator was it was told from different characters' point of views, so it was really interesting to get to play three different characters' points of view of the story and to make that make sense. And I feel like I am the master at run-on sentences with authors, where you can jam in 15 ideas in one sentence and I will be able to just follow it. And sometimes I could just do it cold. Like I will just read it and just follow the, everything that needs to be said in that sentence, and it all makes sense. And I feel like that book was like the birth of that for me, where I was able to connect this talent that I have to this kind of material, because since then I get a lot of material that is, especially women's fiction, that has sort of that type of writing, that narrative writing. So I feel like that was the birth of it there. I could be wrong, but that kind of feels right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is certainly a talent. So do you have a favorite genre, or does it depend on the book? Is there like a favorite, like, because I know you've done some thrillers, right? Or haven't you, true crimes and
Yeah, I've done mysteries, and I would say that my favorite genre is probably, it's the tie between fiction and memoir.
Mm-hmm.
I love reading memoir because it's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating to me, just reading somebody's life story
Yeah.
and really sinking in and connecting with somebody's life is just such a, I mean, what a gift to be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It also is very nerve-wracking to bring somebody's life to
Mm-hmm.
to people's ears and do it justice, and not
Right.
you know, trivialize or just make sure that you're super super present in their life
Mm-hmm.
experience. So that's always amazing to me.
Yeah.
And I guess fiction, because fiction could be really like all over the map, and I get to
Mm-hmm.
do all sorts of different titles that are just, you know, with lots of characters, really helps me like hone my character voices and my accents. And they're challenging in and of themselves, that you're really having to hone into on this story arc, and like, where did these characters go from the beginning to the end, and really like staying connected through an entire, 300 to 400 page book. It's just,
Right.
really, really difficult, but also incredibly rewarding. So I
Yeah.
think those are my two favorites. I love also doing cozy mysteries, which are really fun. I do a few
Yeah.
series. Coincidentally, all take place in libraries. I'm like the queen of the cozy mystery
I
library mystery. I love them because those characters are really fun, and they're, you get to do, I wouldn't say broader character voices. They're still very grounded, but they can have more of a flair and a more of like, a bigness to them that you wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily do in any other genre.
Right.
Like the fun little, like, the woman who works down the street and in the deli, they could really, you could have these like really fun personalities that really shine through, because that's the way they're written.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I know I was looking at, because I love to obviously listen to audiobooks. I just love it's like my favorite thing to do. And I was looking for some of yours, and I have some like written down that I was going to. Are you like the one, cuz I thought this was in the true crime and whatever mystery. The Last Place You Look, is that part of a
Oh
series?
yeah, it
Is that a
is.
series of like 3 books or something?
It is. It's the Roxanne Weary Mysteries,
Okay, do you
written by.
recommend that?
I do. Kirsten Lepianka. Oh no, Kristen. Sorry, not Kirsten. Kristen Lepianka. She wrote 3 mysteries with Roxanne Weary. She's like this very like hardened, whiskey ridden detective who's seen some stuff, and she solves these mysteries. And I would say also too, that series also was the birth of me playing these sorts of female, not sassy, but just like, really like life weary characters who are just
Mhm.
trying to manage their personal lives while solving a very, scary murder, but
Mhm.
also just trying to, deal with their own lives in the middle of it. And that
Right.
character Roxanne is near and dear to my heart. So yes, definitely
That's great.
listen to that series. I
Okay,
keep
good.
looking if Kristen's going to write anymore, and I'll look on Audible and be like, I really hope I hope there's no other titles. Am I still, I think it's still keep me on this series because I loved them so much. But I think she may have hung up the Roxanne hat.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's great, though. That's
We'll
great.
see.
That'll
Yeah.
keep me busy for a while because there's 3 of them, so
There's three
three
of them.
three in the
Yeah.
series anyway, so that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I also another one of my favorites, and there's so many I can go on now, but another one is the memoir, Glynis McNichol.
Mm,
She was a friend of yours, right? Or she's a friend of yours, I'm sorry. She is a friend of yours, right? So, it's called No One Tells You This?
yeah.
That was excellent, and I just was curious because you're part of the story because you're her friend, right? Was it weird? Like, did you have to speak for yourself in the story?
I did. Yeah.
Was that odd? Well, I was just wondering, was it easy or was it like, "This is weird, this is
It
me"?
was weird. It was weird. Yeah. What was less weird, it was me. It was that I was Glynis had a scene in the book that had taken place at a friend's wedding
Okay.
about, and her book was about, being in her 40s and not being married or having children and having this be like a life path. And why are we so
Mhm.
judgmental of women who make
Right,
these types of decisions as opposed to married with children?
right.
Um, um, and so there was a scene in the at a friend's wedding about this, with the backdrop of my friend's wedding and having to voice all of my friends. That was what was weird because all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, wait, how does Madeline sound? And my
Yes.
friend Maury, who owns a store in Brooklyn. She owns a houseware store called Collier's Mansion, and she had been interviewed. So I went on
Oh,
YouTube to like
yeah.
hear Maury again in my head because she has a slight Tennessee accent. And I was like, this is so
Oh
weird.
my
Like the
gosh.
fact that like I can't, like I'm looking up YouTube videos of
Yeah,
my own friends to then do their
yes.
voices. Yeah, so that was weird. But that book was really, really challenging too because Glynis is my friend. And
Mhm.
again, what I just said about memoir is honoring somebody's life experience, but
Right.
also like knowing intimately this person was a weird meta thing
Mhm.
that the thing is, as a narrator, you're the narrator, you're keeping distance, but to now have the experience of actually knowing this person, there is no distance.
Right.
So what do you do with that?
Yeah.
It was so I was in my so the result was I was in my head a lot. Like, does that sound okay? Did I did that sound connected? Like I was more aware of me than I should be. I probably
Right.
should have, not been so much in my head about
Right,
as the
right.
actor.
It was a great book, though. It was a great
Yeah.
audiobook. Yeah,
Hmm.
I loved it. Um, also, I know I wanna try something fun, but I'm gonna wait a minute. I'm gonna
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
reading my notes. Before I do that, I know the book in 2020, right at the beginning of, um, the pandemic, was when you started to record Brave Enough, correct? Was that am I in the right place?
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
year? Okay,
Mhm.
so and that also that won one of the awards, right? That was given an Earphones Award as well, and
Yeah.
I was looking you up, I was investigating you, and you you mentioned how this was a big deal. This meant a lot to you, this book, especially during this time. Um, one of the things that you'd written, and I want you to just elaborate on it too, was at the end of what I was reading about what you said was, "It shows me that even in a dark time, the light is always trying to get in, and that if we continue to fight and work hard, we can come out the other side." I absolutely love that, like, it gives me chills to even read that because that's always something I've always thought in my life, being in challenging times. I remember vividly in certain times of my life where I thought, "Oh my god." I stood there and physically said out loud, I'm not staying here. Never knowing how I would be getting out of it, but I know I'm not staying. I just know it. So
Hmm.
tell me about this, how it influenced you during this difficult time for everybody.
Oof. So, when COVID happened, my Charlie was 4. She was 4, so she was in preschool. Obviously, the preschool closed. Matt and I were now both working at home, and we were now, both used to having an 8-hour day truncated to now sharing the day
Right.
and doing 4 hours and taking care of her.
Mhm.
So I had to record this book that was a 10-hour book with this very small amount of time and also try to hit that deadline. So I was really working really, 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 really hard. but the book was, so it's the memoir of Jessie Diggins, who is an Olympic gold medalist for cross-country skiing. And she is such an inspiration. She's done so much with her career and her life. She was also recovering from anorexia, and she started a center for anorexic women to help them. And she's just like such an inspiration, clearly, she's a gold medalist. She's an inspiration. She worked really hard. So to read a book like that was really learning about Jessie in this time that was just so incredibly challenging, and it was almost it was a physical, a very physical challenge to try to narrate really as quickly as I can to get the book out. Was kind of funny because here I am reading about a sports athlete. So so I would get in the booth every day, and she was so amazing. And also that was the other thing. Jessie is like, she's very close with her family. They're super supportive. She's like, she's known on all of her sports teams as being like the fun one. She's the life of the party. Everybody loves her. She's always like cheerleading for everybody else. Like, she's just a light. So to get into the booth and read about her while this was all going on was just such a gift. And then the fact that I won an earphone awards for it was even better, because I was like, oh man, I loved this book so much, and I'm so glad that it came through enough that I won this award from Audiophile, which, they have great reviewers, and the fact that they loved it too just as much as I did was really special to me. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it was tough. That was a tough
Yeah.
time.
That was a very tough time. That was just crazy, crazy times, I tell you.
Yeah.
So I want to try something fun. I didn't tell you ahead of time because I actually thought about it like this morning or last night. So if it's not, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to, but I think you can pull it off. So I just apologize ahead of time.
Okay.
So
all right.
of course, listening to
Good.
we're talking about all the characters you do and how amazing they are. So just wondering, if it's not too much to ask, if you could give like a quick blip of whatever, a handful of characters from all different books, whatever they are, and like introduce them to us in their voice. Just say who you are.
Okay.
If that's not too much to ask.
Oh my gosh, no, I have to think about.
And I know this is like totally
let me
unprepared.
see.
And basically, you can do anything you want because we can't. We'll just
I know
like
you don't really know.
I just want to hear your range.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Take your time. Take your time.
I feel like I've done some videos of these characters. So my Library Lovers Mysteries, it's written by Jen McKinley, who is a prolific writer. She writes a million series, and she's so incredible. And she's the one that writes the Library Lovers Mysteries. So it takes place in Briar Creek, which is a fictitious town in Connecticut. And it centers around this librarian who is always in the wrong place at the wrong time to solve a mystery. And she has a group called the Crafternooners, which are all of her friends that live in the town, and they read a book. It's like a book club. They read a book and they discuss it while making a craft.
I love it.
So the Crafternooners, they all bring food. They sit around. So there's what's Nancy's last name? I'm blanking on it, but there's Nancy, who is like, she used to be her landlady. So Nancy is one of her favorite people. Nancy is an incredible baker. She bakes snickerdoodles and peanut butter cookies, but her most delightful cookie is her chocolate chip. It's amazing. And then she has her friend Violet, who used to be a Broadway actress. And Nancy and Violet are best friends. And then there's Beth, the librarian, who is Lindsay's best friend. And she's a children's librarian. So she's like full of love and light. And she loves coming to the library in character of a book that she's going to present to the kids during story time. And so she's so delightful.
I love this.
Let's
great.
see who else. Then there's Milton. There's Milton, who is a retired finance guy, and he is now a yogi. And you can find Milton playing chess in the library, or you can find him in the corner doing a headstand for 10 minutes. That is his challenge. Who else? Who else do I have? And then there's Paula. Paula is one of her favorite friends and librarian. Paula is the one that is in charge of all the crafts because she is an artist. She is also a tattoo artist. She comes up with all of the crafts that she helps Lindsay through because Lindsay is not a crafter nooner at all. She cannot hot glue. She can't sew. She can't do anything. So Paula's the one that always helps her through that. Yeah.
I love it. That was so excellent. That is so I'm just blown away by the way you just turn into these people. And this is what I'm saying when I listen to you, I don't even know it's you because even doing Milton, that was his name, right? Milton?
Milton, yeah.
It sounds like Milton, you know? That's amazing. That's really great. Allyson, you just amaze me. You're just amazing. Oh my gosh.
Thank
No,
you.
it's
I
really
love those
great.
characters so much. They're like visiting with old
Uh,
friends when I get to do those
oh,
books.
wow. And did you have to, do did you come up with those on your own kind of or is it through coaching and things like that and different things that got you to find, like, different range of your voice?
Mm. Um, yes and no. I have worked with some coaches to learn more about my instrument and also to learn like those characters are pretty like I said with these fun cozy mysteries that those characters could be really broad and fun.
Mhm.
But when you're doing a book that is much more grounded, the slight changes that you can do to your voice just to make, I mean, really all you're doing is making the listener know that somebody else is talking. So you don't have
Right,
to make it big. It does not have to be big.
right.
But also with male characters and not just wanting to do this for a male character and make everybody sound, to have some sort of texture and rhythm and pacing that will just do these very, very tiny little, vocal changes that really just
Mhm.
bring the character to life. And so I've worked with some people on that. And then the stuff that's more broad, it's just sometimes when I'm reading the book, and this goes, I'm sure many actors feel this way, you just kind of hear them in your head.
Right.
You read the story and you're like, "Oh yeah, I hear Nancy. She sounds fun. She's like, I completely hear this woman in my head. And she's so funny and she's got these funny little quirks and so that to me that's fine. And
Right.
honestly, if I read reviews where listeners were like, "Oh my god, what is this narrator doing with his voice?" Like, I probably would change it.
Right.
I wouldn't do Nancy. Nancy might be much more just very like this. She'd be very more straightforward. She'd still have that gravel in her voice, but she wouldn't have this big boisterous sound to her.
Yeah.
I would maybe take it down a notch, but yeah, I usually just find them what's in my head hopefully comes out of my mouth, and if not, more specifically technically, I will record the voice and listen back to it. And really what I say to myself is, do I believe myself? Do I believe me?
Right.
If I don't believe me, then we change
Right.
it. Yeah.
Right.
But and
Right.
I do that a lot with my work where I will even reading a scene. Do I believe that scene? Do I believe that dialogue? Do me listening to it evoke anything? Did I feel anything when I listened to it? And if I didn't, I will most of the time go back and re-record it.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. That's excellent. I'm in
yeah,
awe. I'm in awe.
yeah.
Um, so you mentioned you're an essayist. Is that like does that include like a blog and things? I know you do blog things, or is that something different? Tell me about that creative side of you.
I started writing essays when I first moved out here, just kind of through my experience as an actor and just trying to
Mhm.
find my way through, um, you know, getting work and mining myself for materials that I could audition well. And so I would just kind of write about that journey. And then
Mhm.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015.
Mhm.
And then I was diagnosed again in 2021, and I wrote a few essays. In 2015, I wrote about my diagnosis and my treatment. And then in 2021, I continued to write about the experiences of going through treatment and then the aftermath of it.
Right.
And I really do at some point want to create a collection of essays and elaborate it up. I feel like I'm at in 2025. I have more distance from the experience that I could actually write the book that I would want to write. But
Mm-hmm.
this past 5 years, not so much. But I
Yeah.
have maybe about 3 or 4 essays that I had put out on Medium and for women, and I sort of guide them there when I have friends who ask me about, the types of surgeries that I've had and my types of treatment that I went through, and to so that they can read them and hear what I had to say about them. So it's actually like a good resource. I can't tell you how, unfortunately, how many people reach out to me now to ask about what I went through, and I'm always happy to help. So it's actually a really good, guidebook. I'm like, okay, well, here's my page, and if you can stomach it and you want to get through it and read some of these essays and see,
I
yeah.
I think that's great, a great resource. Actually, that was one of my questions I was going to ask you later. I was going to ask if you felt comfortable sharing, so I'm glad you did. So that season for you, do you feel comfortable sharing anything about that? How that affected, just, your life,
Mm,
your working life even, or just in general?
yeah. Oh, wow. It was, the first time, the first time I went through it, um, it it wasn't it was about a 9-month period.
Mhm.
I was diagnosed. I had a few surgeries. I had lumpectomies to remove my tumor, and then I went through some radiation treatment as like an insurance policy. It was maybe like 8 or 9 months total. And in that time, it actually changed my perspective on my life. And that was really where I made the decision where I did want to have children. So I'm so
Oh,
grateful that
yeah.
that happened. But the
Mhm.
second time I went through it, it was a little more serious. And, I had to have a double mastectomy, and I went through a reconstruction surgery, and I went through chemotherapy, and I've now on medications. So that this one had a huge impact, and, you know, a huge impact on my work, because I was trying to work through
Wow.
all of my cancer treatment, and that was
That's hard.
don't recommend that to anyone. But I
Yeah.
will say I did record some great books during that time, and I'm really happy that I did it, but it was definitely challenging. And
Mhm.
now I'm on the other side of it, and everything is sort of back to normal. But
Mhm.
and so now through that experience, I get a lot of books about cancer, and during treatment, I read someone's memoir about their experience with cancer. So these stories come to me, and I feel like, oh wow, I'm so glad, because I I've been through it. What I bring to that material is like no other actor can do, unless
Exactly.
unless they've been through it. So
Exactly.
it's a unique thing, unique thing to possess, to be able to.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a unique skill to possess. I don't know if skill's the right word.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a word I can't even think of what the word is, but I know what you mean. Yeah, it's a
Mhm,
unique thing that came out of it is
mhm.
that, to
It's a unique perspective. It's a unique
right.
perspective to have, to bring somebody's story to life that went through this as well.
I know it's a lot to go through, and
Yeah.
you're amazing, and I'm sure feel like getting through to the other side of that is huge. That's
Yeah.
just a huge thing.
Yeah.
Um so if you don't mind sharing, what's a day
Mhm.
in the life of Allison Ryan look like?
A day in the life of
Is there a
me.
typical day, or is there, like, kinda, like, not a typical day? It's like
Ooh, let's see. My day changes a lot, but a typical day would be, the morning is usually Charlie land, making sure Charlie gets to school on time, which she does. She just got perfect attendance.
Wow!
Yeah,
Oh
she's
my goodness.
she's
That's
she's
really
gotten that a
good.
few times. So yeah, so we get
Love
Charlie
it.
to school, and then usually when I come back, so now because I exercise has become a giant priority for me because of my health. So I usually go to the gym, and spend some time there. And then I come back, I usually eat, and then I get into the box. And I'm usually in the box for about 5 to 6 hours a day. And
Wow.
then with breaks here and there. And then, like it depends on the day. So either if I'm recording, I'm in there 5, 6 hours. If I'm prepping, I'm usually spending 2 to 3 hours, reading and
Mm-hmm.
taking bigger breaks. You can't sit and read for 6 hours straight. It's just a slog at that point.
Right. And
Yeah.
I saw something that you had posted saying that you now do take advantage of those breaks where you may not have done that previously in life, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I used to just like power through. I would just like keep
Right.
going, keep going, keep going. And then it's like, no, that's not, as you get older,
Mhm.
you can't sit for that long. You have to take your health into consideration. You have to take walks. You have to, get the blood flowing. It's not good to be sitting in one place, especially, on a
Right.
mic that you can't move that much. So you really need to
Right.
get up and move
Right.
around. So I really take advantage of breaks
That's good.
more than I ever did in my life. But yeah,
Mhm.
so then I record or I prep until till like the late afternoon, and then I go and I get Charlie, and then we have our evening, and that's either shuttling her to some activities or that's spending time with my family and
Mhm.
watching TV together. And then sometimes I go back to work after she's in bed. I'll go back and I'll prep
Mhm.
uh, a book.
Mhm.
Probably like 1 to 2 hours after she goes to bed, depending on how long I can
Okay.
stay awake.
Right. I know. I
So
can I can relate, and the night working is not my favorite. If I have to, I will, but it's not my fave.
I hate working at night. I had to work, I'm recording I just did a book. I just finished on Friday. We're doing some renovations in our house, and it was too noisy for me to record during the day, so I was recording at night, and I was like, "Oh my God." And I
So
have friends that record at night, like, that's their time. That's when
yeah.
they either can have the quiet time or that's just how their schedule is. I'm like, my brain shuts down at 9. At
Me
9,
too.
nothing happens after 9.
Yep.
Or things happen, but they're not great
They're
after
not
9.
there. No.
They're
No.
not where they should be.
What
So,
happens is me on the couch watching TV and I'm sitting there, that's my after 9. Because if I do it, I swear to you, I'm like a little kid. I'm like all complaining to myself and like, I don't want to be here. And why am I in here? And I don't want to be here. And it's like
yeah,
nothing
yeah,
comes out right.
no,
It's like I just want
yeah.
to sit down and relax. That's all I
I
want.
know, you just wanna be with your family, you just wanna be like,
Yes.
yeah, it's just like nobody wants to be in their booth by themselves
No, we
recording.
love it, but no, we don't love it that
No,
much. No.
no. But the reading is good because then I can, like, lay in bed or on the couch and
Yes.
get some reading done. So that's always nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I have to break it up,
Mhm.
spend the time with my family and then go back to
Yes.
it after. That gets
Yeah.
gets done better than recording at
No,
night.
that's true. That's true. And rejuvenates you. It's nice to do that. You feel good about that part, gets you going better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I have a signature question, but I mean, you might not be able to answer it because you've answered a lot of things that fit this question. So I
Mhm.
will ask you, and it's okay to pass on it because I think we talked about a lot. But I like to ask if you can share a moment in your life or career when you had to show resilience or, experience divine intervention or had to pivot.
It's funny. I will say for the entirety of my career has felt very guided because what's sort of interesting about the way that my work has come to me is that when you're starting out you want to be able to do everything because you want to maximize your dollars, right, your income. So you want to be able to do voiceover, commercials, TV, film. Let's make it all, every path really good, so that if I'm not working in audiobooks, maybe I'll book a commercial. If I don't book a commercial, maybe I'll get a film. And maybe if I don't do film, I'll get a TV role. That I always kind of felt like that was my life constantly. And it always really was happening that way. So if this thing didn't happen, then this was happening, then this was happening. And now I've sort of guided myself to really most of the time just doing audiobooks, which has been very interesting because it really matches my life now to be able to just do this thing. And I do other voiceover, I do dubbing and I will do some commercial voiceover, but these things fit really neatly into this package against the backdrop of my life. And so just recently I had sort of had some reflection time, and how lucky I have been to have this sort of divine guidance. Just like I always got what I needed when I needed it. And I would even venture to say that having these two cancer experiences, as difficult as they were, they have brought me so much. They have taken a lot away from me, but not without replacing it with something that is completely necessary to my life now. You know, I'm a year away from turning 50. I can really see my life and looking back and just seeing how I've gotten to this place. So, yeah, I've always felt like I have a hand guiding me around, and it's never let me fall, you know. And if I did fall a little bit, it was not to the ground, you know. So I'm grateful. And this career too, I always ended up, and I'm sure a lot of actors will say this too, is that you always get the role you need at the time. I will get a book that like speaks to something that I'm going through. I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm learning so much from it, and I'm able to bring so much to it.
Mhm.
Or especially like books about health or science or self-help. Those books are incredible. Like I was contemplating this book I want to write about essays.
Mhm.
I got a job reading a book called Imaginador, which was about writing and publishing. It was
Oh my
fascinating. I
gosh.
was like, oh, I got to learn the ins and outs of the industry. You know,
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't have really picked up this book and read it cover to cover. Yeah, I don't have time in my life to read a 500-page book, but I have time to record one, right? So it's
Right.
just like that. Things like that have happened to me all throughout my life, and I'm so grateful. So,
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
I'm glad I asked you the question. I'm
yeah.
gonna ask anyway. And that was great. I love it. I love
Mhm.
it. That was really wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, so what's up next for you? Is there anything new coming up like for you as far as, or you in the middle of a book, or is there something coming up? There's something, what's up for
Mm.
Allie?
What's up for me? What's up for me? I don't know what's up for me.
What's up for you?
I just finished recording a book called What We Leave Behind by Sue Halpern, which was a
Mhm.
delightful book. And I'm reading it with this other actress named Alexa Elmy. So that's coming out, I think, maybe in May or June. And I also just finished a book called Love, Canter, Action, which is a romance that I
Oh,
read by Katie Gilbert. So, and that
oh,
was a
good.
lovely book. It's about a horse wrangler who gets a job on a movie set, and she falls in love with the lead actor, who's like a Tom
Oh,
Cruise type. So it's very,
oh
very
my
fun.
gosh. Oh, that's so
Yeah, it's
great.
great. And I really enjoyed I really enjoyed reading that one. And then I'm doing a romance in May called How Freaking Romantic
Oh,
by
I
an
love
author
that.
named Emily Harding.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so we're trucking along. And
Nice.
I just did some dubbing work on some shows on Netflix, and then you know the summer's coming, and so
Yes.
we always have to, you know, navigate, juggle when Charlie is home,
Yeah.
and but I'm looking forward to it. And so
Yeah.
we have some a fun trip to Canada planned for the summer. So
Oh, nice. Very
yeah,
nice. Very
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I
always
loved Canada.
busy. Yeah,
Nice.
me too. So we're keeping busy as
Cool.
always. Yeah,
That's so
never
great.
a dull moment ever,
Never, never dull.
never.
I know. I'm never, I have people in my life that'll be like, I'm so bored, whatever. I'll be like, I don't remember the last time I was actually bored,
Yeah.
but,
Oh
you
my
know,
God, me too.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
I don't
not part of
understand.
my vernacular anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
No. Mm-mm.
So, before you close this with the quote, I want you to pick an angel card.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm gonna shuffle. I'm gonna
Okay.
just keep shuffling, and then you just tell me when to stop, and I'll just pick one.
Ooh, okay. Stop.
Okay. Oops. Almost dropped it. Let's see what it
Oh.
is. So it's gonna be one word. It's one word.
Oh.
Oh, it says sisterhood, brotherhood. It's a double word.
A double word.
Sisterhood, brotherhood. Well,
Okay.
does that mean anything to you? Any thoughts?
Sisterhood, brotherhood. Ooh,
That's
I
interesting.
don't know. Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, so I'm thinking it's all those voices you do, and it's
Oh, maybe that's what it is. It's this stable of people I have in my
I
brain.
it's a stable. That's
Yeah.
gotta be. I have not picked nobody has picked a double word yet. So
Wow, that's weird.
sisterhood, brotherhood. And also, I
Oh.
don't know, because I know you, because we're related, I feel also that I just get that full family, friends, whole feel, like, that whole thing for you. But yeah, the first thing was voices.
Oh my god, that's so funny. That
Isn't
is
that
weird,
funny?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing
That's
comes to mind, but
wild.
yeah, I mean, it's gotta be that. It's gotta
It's
be,
gotta be.
yeah, all the people, all the sisters and brothers I have in my brain
That's
coming
right,
out.
that's right. And I think also all the people surrounding you, you know what I mean? The friendships and the really, really the quality people, friendships in your life and the relationships. That's what I
Yeah,
mean to say. I think that really stands out too. So
yeah,
very cool.
yeah, that is
So,
really cool.
did you bring a favorite quote or a, mantra or whatever
I
to
do
share?
have a favorite quote.
Mhm.
So, let's see. So this quote hangs on my wall, and I
Ooh.
will read. I'll read it out. But so this hangs on my wall right over here. So this is um I read a book uh back in 2022. What We Wish Were True. That was the name of the book. What We Wish Were True. And it was a memoir written by a brilliant woman named Tallu Schuyler Quinn. And Tallu was a minister. She ran a food bank in the South, and she was like an inspiration to her community. She had two young kids. Unfortunately, she passed away. She had glioblastoma. She had brain
Oh,
cancer,
jeez.
and she died in 2022, but not before she was actually able to read the introduction to her memoir. And then
Oh,
my friend Linda, who was the producer of this book, she hired me to read it while I was going through treatment. So it was a
wow.
really
Wow.
incredible time to read this memoir of this woman and to also be going through treatment myself. So anyway,
Oh my gosh.
I was literally in tears every single day because she was a brilliant, brilliant writer.
Oh my
Her life experience was so inspiring, and she said this in one of her essays in the book, and it just hit me in my gut, and I loved it so much that I had it printed out and hung it on my wall. I am not a religious person, so when she mentions God in this quote, I just think of it as a higher power.
Mhm.
She was Catholic, so anyway, so when I read it, it's to me, it's just this more of like a spiritual higher power
Mhm.
than. But anyway, so she wrote, we all spend so much time looking for what's right before us, in front of us, inside us. We search for God, for ways to be faithful, for something to deliver us from present worry or strife. It's not wasted time, but when we catch a glimpse of God living right where we live, we remember our deliverance has already been sent. I really just
Oh
love
my
that
gosh.
so much. Just
Yeah.
like,
Oh, I love
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
The energy from that, I could just feel it.
yeah.
Oh my
It's just so
goodness.
good.
Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful. I love it. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to touch on or share?
It's really interesting, I guess related, like, with Charlie, like, just seeing how Charlie is such a love, and she loves, like, performance and, like, making up stories and playing music and writing, and it's so funny how she's just this little product of me and Matt, of the things that are important to us, and she just sort of
Isn't that
soaks that all up and, you know, turns it into her own thing, and
yes.
it's really interesting. I will say to Matt so many times, like, "Oh my god, I used to do that as a kid," or Charlie totally reminds me of me at that age. And I see her performing in the living room. She's, like, with the microphone in the living room, you know?
And it's so funny because, like you said, it's not like you sat there and you tell her to do these things. It's just in her being and being with you guys, and it's in her being, which is so cool. It's so cool
So I just wanted to mention
that
she just loved that little lady so much.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, doll, she really is. It's so great to be here with you. I don't wanna let you go. I wanna keep talking to you and talking to you.
I know, this
Tell
has
us
been really fun.
it has been so great. Tell us where to find you online, people wanting to reach out or follow you or.
Oh, yeah, sure. I have a website, AllysonRyan.com. And also I have my handle on Instagram is AllysonRyanVO. And you can find like updates on books that are coming out, new releases, things like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And of course, I want to give a huge shout out to Victoria Lynn Purdy, who wrote and sang the theme song for Time to Elevate. I love you so much. I'm so
I love
happy
you
we got
so
to do
much.
this. Thank
Me
you so
too.
much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me, Anne. This has been great.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Life gets tough, and I know it's hard to cope with the unknown. For all of us, I know it'd be easy if we were perfect, but we're not. So we go to find our faith, to find our hope. It all begins with looking up. It all begins with you. It's time to